Welcome to the Oasis State podcast. Cheers for tuning in. This podcast is dedicated to educating and empowering women to step into their self-love infused power. As a woman, there are so many nuances that influence our relationship with self. Join me as I share my personal experiences with and deep understanding of mindset development, energetics, and self-mastery. I will help you deconstruct societal conditioning and your own outdated beliefs through a lighthearted, playful lens of perception. I will introduce you to tools that will help you redefine your interaction with life, powerfully manifest your wildest dreams, and enjoy every step along the way. Let this podcast guide and support you as you make the commitment to remember your magic within. This is your self-empowerment pep talk. Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome to episode 5 of the Oasis State podcast. I am your host, Zoe Rose Carey. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Wow, episode 5. So today I have put my big girl pants on and actually created an outline for this episode. Sorry if you just heard that in the background. My gorgeous dog was just having a nap beside me. But I couldn't really find anywhere else to record this episode. So let's just roll with the punches and get on with it. So yes, I have created an outline because I just love talking about everything I'm discussing on this podcast, but I just wanted to create a bit of a structure in case you guys kind of lose me throughout my little tangents. So let's see how this episode flows, and hopefully I can deliver the content to you more directly rather than just preaching from the top of my lungs about everything. So, okay. Today's episode 5, we are diving into boundaries. So, boundaries are traditionally depicted as selfish, especially for women. So, this is a topic that I'm really, really passionate about. And I hope by the end of this episode, I've been able to help you shift your perception of what boundaries are and how they can actually help you establish your standards in life. And basically, the reason why we need to shift our perception of boundaries is because society is always projecting onto us, especially as women, this idea that we have limitless energy and that we should be available to everyone. And that just is quite simply not the case. So I want to, in this episode, pull apart what boundaries are and help you reframe them, like your belief around them, reframe them to be a means to help you evolve into your self-mastered version of yourself through healthy communication, and how we can use boundaries as a pathway to creating a life that we are deeply proud of. So let's get straight into it. Let's explore our current beliefs around boundaries. So, firstly, what comes to mind when you think of boundaries? Um, Take some time to reflect on your relationship with boundaries. For some, you might be sitting here like, shit, I don't feel like I have any, and that's so okay. So that poses the next question. Do you have any in your life right now? Or where would you like to start establishing healthy boundaries? Sorry about my dog, if you can hear him. As I said, I couldn't really find another quiet place to do this, and he's just so cute and I couldn't kick him out. So yes, where would you like to be setting up healthy boundaries in your life, and how are you maintaining current boundaries? Or when you do establish new ones, how would you like to maintain them? Because yes, we can set them, but this is a daily practice of establishing, reinforcing them, shifting them as well. Sometimes you can be like, okay, I didn't need that strong of a boundary. I can reevaluate now because I'm in a season of having more energy, I'm feeling more social, etc. So your boundaries are always going to be evolving as you evolve. But basically, it's just one facet of being an empowered, self-mastered woman, is to have healthy boundaries. So firstly, to understand that, we need to understand our current beliefs around boundaries. So I would definitely advise you to take some time, maybe even grab a journal and reflect on those few questions I've just mentioned. So if you want to pause now, I can repeat the questions and you can write them out. So the first question is, what comes to mind when you think of boundaries? Do you have any boundaries in your life right now? Where would you like to have healthy boundaries? How you maintain your boundaries currently, and what are the new ones you would like to establish? So yeah, definitely great journal prompts to sit with and reflect on. But I just want to give you a bit of a disclosure statement. Talking or thinking about boundaries can bring up a lot of self judgment. So if you're feeling yourself going into a negative thought spiral about this, maybe take a step away and revisit. And then this leads me to my next point about um, practicing patience with this process of setting boundaries. So, your initial thoughts or beginning to talk about boundaries, like I said, might actually trigger some emotional overwhelm in you, a negative thought spiral, or some self judgment. And that is so okay. In these times, you need to practice self compassion and know that, like everything on our self mastery journey, it takes consistent action and a lot of patience each day. So, you're not just going to be able to completely overhaul your boundaries and set all of these new healthy ones up in a day. It's just not going to happen. So, be compassionate towards yourself and practice patience as you're doing this. And yeah, and you will find over time that they become more natural. And as you set one boundary, you might want to navigate a different area of your life. So, establishing boundaries is a way of setting a standard for your life. We can set boundaries in relationships, in our workplace, boundaries with money, with communications, emotions, etc. And towards the end of this episode, I will go through a few different areas where boundaries are incredibly important. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, one thing I wanted to kind of plant the seed for you as well, again, could be a journaling practice, is when you are navigating setting a new boundary, ask yourself the question, why is this boundary beneficial for me? And what do you have to let go of or release to establish this boundary? So that will kind of, these reflective questions will help you poke holes in any limiting beliefs you have around boundaries being selfish or boundaries kind of being that closed off energy. Because boundaries actually aren't a closed off force, they actually invite in more aligned energy for what you're looking for. So, ignore if you feel triggered or like stressed out, if you feel like a tightness in your body or your chest or your throat right now as I talk about boundaries, just know that those beliefs can be shifted. And once you create a healthy relationship with boundaries, you realize how expansive and inclusive they actually become. So, as I mentioned, every or even actually not even while you're journaling, even when you establish them and start exercising them, come back to this question of, why is this boundary beneficial for me? So it will help you reestablish that healthy relationship with boundaries. um, so yeah, let's have a look at um, new beliefs that we should start actually be establishing around boundaries. I've just really quickly brushed over how you might currently be feeling about boundaries or your lack of boundaries in your life. But now I'd like to plant these seeds for you about the new beliefs you should have around establishing boundaries in your life. So, some positives that come from establishing boundaries are, they are your gateway to holistic success. So, holistic success means balanced, aligned, consistent success in all areas of your life. So, the holistic success model that I work off embodies 8 areas of your life. And I'll definitely do an episode of that, and we can break down each area of your life and how to work on them. And it also is key to not work on every area in one go because you'll just get totally overwhelmed. So, setting these boundaries helps you gain holistic success. So, rather than gaining success in one area of your life, say job, career, purpose led success, creating boundaries in that area where you're experiencing that success will mean that you will also have success in other areas of your life, say self care, time in nature, relationships, etc. Because it's great to be moving ahead and being successful in your job, but if you don't have any boundaries with your time and you're working 60 hours a week, you can guarantee your relationships and your self care, etc., are going to start suffering because of that. So, boundaries are great to help you gain holistic success. Boundaries are also your safeguard from your past tendency to overexert yourself. So, as women, like I mentioned before, it's been drilled into us for so long that we have limitless energy and we need to be available to everyone. And it's just physically impossible. Women are cyclical beings and we go through ebbs and flows of energy. We have inner seasons with our menstrual cycle. And by establishing boundaries, this becomes your safeguard to stop overexerting yourself. And once you can tap into those inner seasons or your cyclical nature, you'll understand how to kind of effectively establish boundaries in your life to respect the ebb and flow of your energy. So that's another amazing belief we need to establish with boundaries. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you. So sorry, my dog in the background. It teaches people how to treat you. So if you have no boundaries and you're completely available for everyone all the time, it's just not a sustainable thing. So when we start to establish boundaries, it's slowly educating people about how to treat you. And I just want to remind you, this is a little kind of side note from this new belief we're establishing around boundaries, that when you start actively instilling these boundaries in your life, how someone responds to your boundary is not a reflect of that boundary, but instead is a reflection of their relationship with boundaries. And this isn't your issue to deal with. So it might feel confronting at the start if you say, mention to a friend, like, hey, I'm just really not feeling up to Friday night's dinner with the girls. I just really need a bath and a red wine and to do some journaling. If that friend doesn't respect or respond positively to that boundary, that's not because of you, that's their relationship with boundaries. And just stay in your energy. You aren't there to rescue everybody. You just need to focus on yourself. And I promise you that as you lead by example and keep establishing these healthy boundaries, those people that initially didn't respond in a positive way to that boundary will start absorbing your example and hopefully down the track will start establishing those boundaries for themselves. So in this situation where you are creating that new belief around how you want people to treat you through your boundaries, assertive communication is key here. And it's just about consistently showing up. You might have to repeat your boundary, but if you've had that time to reflect and that boundary feels good for you, it's okay. So just keep practicing assertive communication. That is definitely the key there. So, yeah, that's another new belief that is very, very constructive when helping you establish boundaries in your life. And then finally, the new belief around boundaries is that they are actually here to help you feel safe and comfortable. So, as I mentioned before, we might have this negative connotation that boundaries are closed off, they shut you down, but they just help you feel safe and comfortable. If you are constantly saying yes to shifts at work, but are completely overwhelmed by a lack of sleep and work life balance, setting that boundary with your manager saying, hey, I'm actually going to have to cap it at 40 hours a week or 20 hours, whatever feels comfortable with you. The energy behind setting that boundary is that you feel safe and comfortable with that communication, with that boundary and that standard that you've established, that this work life balance is important for me. So yeah, let those new beliefs around boundaries sink in, because it's just so much healthier than the beliefs that are out there at the moment. And I mentioned again, especially for women, it's just seen as very bossy or very negative for a woman to have boundaries. But sorry, just absolutely the opposite. So, yeah, best of luck letting those new beliefs sink in. Maybe take some time to go back through this episode, pause where I've spoken about this, and write out these boundaries the beliefs around boundaries, because they are just so important to help us redefine where we want to set our standards. And like I said, boundaries are there to help us create a pathway for a life aligning with a life that we're deeply proud of. So, yeah, you might be loving your job, but you're not really proud of how you're looking after yourself right now because you keep saying yes, yes, yes to all the shifts, but you're lacking self-care and sleep and a healthy diet because you're so time poor. So just remembering that these boundaries are helping you establish a life that you're actually proud of. Because I guarantee you now, if you don't aren't exercising healthy boundaries, I really highly doubt you are creating a life you're proud of. And I'm not saying that to put you into a negative self-judgment spiral. It's just let that sink in with a place of compassion, feel really lighthearted, and just accept, okay, I need to course correct in this area of my self mastery journey as an empowered woman because I am not feeling aligned, I am not feeling balanced, I'm not feeling safe, and I'm not feeling comfortable. And this is where boundaries are great. So let's dive into 5 types of boundaries. And I hope these, can kind of help you navigate where you might already have healthy boundaries or where you might need to take some time to sit down and reestablish boundaries. So, our first type of boundary is physical. A physical boundary is who is allowed in your personal space and or who has access to your personal belongings. So, an example of you establishing a healthy physical boundary includes physically, like not physically, verbally asking somebody to take a step back when they are too close. Just say, hey, could you please take a step back? I'm not feeling too comfortable right now. Or maybe another example of exercising a healthy physical boundary is if someone asks a favor of you and you feel like you are overexerting yourself to do that, and or so essentially feeling unsafe by offering that favor that they're asking, just politely remind that person that I've set this boundary and I don't actually let people borrow my car on the weekends. Just say that's their request. Or, no, I don't want to babysit your kids on a Saturday night, sort of thing. So it's just about that verbal, assertive, loving communication when setting this physical boundary. And or all boundaries actually. The next type of boundary is emotional. So an emotional boundary is not taking on other people's emotional burdens when you don't have the capacity to, or setting a boundary around avoiding triggering topics. So, emotional boundaries are incredibly important, like all of them, but we are always absorbing and interacting with our environment through our aura, which is an energetic field, electromagnetic field actually, that floats around our body. And I can definitely do an episode later dissecting what an aura is. But whether we like it or not, we are always absorbing and interacting with life through this beautiful aura. It's also how we kind of put out to the world how we're feeling. So, this is where an emotional boundary is really important. It is not your responsibility to take on other people's emotional burdens if you don't feel like you have the capacity to do that. So, an example of you expressing, so all of these boundaries are probably going to be verbal at the start. It can, once you really step into your self mastered power, they can become energetic boundaries when you're just so set in your standard for, an emotional boundary that you don't even need to verbally get it out there. But at the start, a lot of these boundaries will be verbal. So, an example of verbally putting an emotional boundary out there is saying to someone, I want to support you, but I have too much on my plate right now. So, it's totally okay if you've got a friend, a coworker, a partner, family member, etc., who's come to you and completely just emotionally vomited where they're at on you. And a lot of the time it would be negative, which is fine. We all have negative experiences in our life, and that is totally okay. But it's not your responsibility to just be this open blank canvas for whoever to come along and just burden you with their emotions. So it's also okay for you to have emotions and reach out to other people too. But by setting an emotional boundary, what I actively do with my friends now, or family members, or support network is prior to me needing to lean on them for some emotional support, I'll make an effort to ask them, hey, do you have the capacity to hold space for me? Um, A, B, and C, but like because of X, Y, and Z. Before you just write a big text or a voice message or call them and say, hey, oh my God, I've just had the worst day. Because you might not actually know the day that they've had or the emotional state that they're in. Sorry, guys, I'm not sure if you can hear in the background, but there's just a very loud group of birds in the background right now. And it's just, life's just very loud at the moment, but that's okay. We will continue on, and hopefully, you can just stay focused on what I have to say. And those beautiful birds out there can just keep enjoying their life. So sorry for any background noise. I don't have a professional soundproof booth that I can jump in to record these episodes. So, yeah, hopefully, you appreciate me keeping it real. um, so, yeah, setting that emotional boundary is saying to someone, I actually don't have the capacity to hold this space for you right now. And that is totally okay to do that. And it'll actually encourage that person, if they're in a healthy place, to maybe take some accountability for how they're feeling. Because it's great to have a support network, but it's also really important to be able to be your own therapist and your own cheerleader. And it will encourage that person, if they're trying to drop an emotional burden on you, it will hopefully encourage them to learn how to self soothe. And it doesn't mean you won't be available tomorrow or next week or whatever, but it is totally okay for you to set that emotional boundary of, I cannot hold this space for you right now. And then it's a two-way street. As I mentioned, really start making an effort to ask your friends or your support network, hey, do you have this capacity to hold space for me, before you need to lean on them emotionally? So it is a two-way street. If you're expecting others to respect your boundaries, you 100% have to respect theirs. And it comes back to that reminder that I mentioned before, that if someone doesn't respond well to your boundary, it means they have a lack of respect for their own. So, as you start respecting your boundaries, you'll learn that it's a two-way street and you need to respect other people's boundaries. So, yeah. And let's move on to mental boundaries. Mental boundaries are allowing yourself to have personal thoughts, beliefs, and opinions that may differ from others, and learning to be okay with that. So, it's okay to have a unique thought or a unique perspective or a unique belief that doesn't really um, align with someone else around you. It is so okay to have original thoughts and authentic beliefs and your own thought process. So, um, a way that you could verbally communicate this, if you do hit a position where where the mental boundary isn't being met, a way to verbally what I'm trying like verbally express this is to say, it's okay if you don't agree with me, because you can still be so strong in your belief and your thought, but the person you're expressing it to doesn't need to agree with you, and that is okay. That's what makes life interesting, is not everyone has the same beliefs and thoughts and opinions. And when you're around healthy, confident people, this is actually a really interesting and exciting thing, because you can sit down and respect their beliefs and they can respect yours. So, just by verbally saying, it's okay, you don't agree with me, is setting that mental boundary. Another phrase or way you could word this to someone not respecting a mental boundary is, or you don't respect theirs, is, I respect your perspective even though I don't agree with it. So it's just rewording that same kind of underlying belief, that we're going to agree to disagree, and that is perfectly okay. So that's what a mental boundary is. Like, it just means that you are safeguarding and you're confident with your own beliefs and your own thoughts, and that's totally okay. Next type of boundary is a time boundary. Oh my gosh, I reckon any female listening to this episode right now is feeling fully triggered by a lack of time boundary, because as we have been stuck in this kind of toxic hamster wheel as females, that we need to have limitless energy and we need to be superwomen and wear all these hats and be a mother and a wife and a lover and a career woman, and all of these things. So a time boundary is especially important for females, because we've just been living in a society for so long that has no concept of time boundaries for females. So a time boundary is how much time you choose to spend with others, and how others, respect your time. So I'll repeat that. A time boundary is how much time you choose to spend with others, and or how you respect and how others respect your time. Oh my gosh. Sorry guys, first time with an outline and I just can't even read my own writing. Um, so again, this comes back to the two-way street energy, the toing and froing, that um, how you choose to respect your time with others, and are others respecting your time. So a way to verbally express this boundary could be, I can only stay for an hour. So it's so great to have, time to socialize with people, or if you work for yourself when you want a lunch break, but you've got that friend that tends to think that a coffee catch up turns into a whole day hangout, and they might even make you feel guilty if you want to peel off and go back to doing your own thing. It is totally okay to set that boundary at the start, or even in the text message when you're organizing, say, a coffee date. This is an example of, hey, I would love to grab a coffee with you. I can only stay for an hour. Short, sweet, and simple. And then on the other end of it, if you're feeling that people are not respecting your time and you haven't really instilled healthy time boundaries with yourself yet, and just say someone is, chronically late for when you are meeting up with them. You can, again, when you're organizing, hey, let's get coffee, that'd be great. You can also write in that text message or phone call, please let me know in advance if you're going to be late. Because it's not respecting your time if you're constantly meeting up with Sally Joe at 10 a.m. for coffee on Tuesdays and she rocks in at quarter to 12, because that's not respecting your time. Did she have any idea what else you had to do today, kind of thing? And it's not about getting frustrated with them. It's just about calmly planting that seed that your time needs to be respected. And as you keep setting these healthy time boundaries, you won't need to keep kind of slowly coaching that ever late friend to actually be on time, because I'll start learning, like, oh, Zoe really doesn't like it when I'm not late. I need to respect her time. So that's a really, kind of simple, easy way to start getting your time boundaries set. And the last boundary I want to go through today is communication. So a communication boundary is how someone is allowed to speak to you, and or how you speak to yourself. So this is a very introspective boundary as well when I speak of how you speak to yourself, because if you're sitting there with this completely limiting and negative dialogue, that is not a communication standard that you've set for yourself, because you are just completely being your worst nightmare and putting yourself down. So, a communication boundary is also internal. So, a really simple, easy way to set a communication boundary is to say to someone, please don't speak to me in that tone. So, just say you're having a conversation with like a partner or a colleague or a friend or something, and it starts to get heated and they raise their voice at you. That is not going to make you feel safe or comfortable. So it is completely okay to say to them, please don't speak to me in that tone. And remember, the new beliefs that we need to instill about boundaries is that they are set there to make you feel safe and comfortable. So in any circumstance where you're communicating and you don't feel safe, setting a communication boundary will help you feel comfortable in that situation. And this is going to take time. All of these boundaries to set, if you want to instill all of them, basically, are going to take time. So I just wanted to plant these seeds for you guys at the start. Revisit this episode if you need to, but start to acknowledge where your old belief systems are around boundaries, where you're lacking boundaries in your current life, through a lens of self awareness and a lot of compassion, so no judgment. Really let those new beliefs that I've mentioned in this episode about boundaries sink in. They are constructive, they are open, they are active, they are loving, they are assertive, and they're just really, really necessary. So, really let those new beliefs sink in, because they are the pathway to help you create a life you're proud of. And then go through and start practicing those in each of those 5 areas I just mentioned. Understanding where you may have already established a boundary or where you would like to be establishing a new boundary. But just remember, guys, boundaries are so important. They are such a empowerment tool for you to have. And I'm really excited to see you guys dive into your boundaries. I would love to, love to, love to hear from you. I will put my contact details, email, etc., in the show notes. And I would love to hear from you if you are feeling confused about boundaries, or you've really learnt a lot from this episode and you're going to start instilling them in life. In your life, let me know how that goes. I really, really want to be a part of this journey with you guys. So, Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up now, guys, and leave that there. All my love to you, and I will chat to you on the next episode. Sending all my love.